All right, team. I've got a somewhat long video to do today and not a ton of time to do it in. So let's see how this goes. We're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about the evolution of money. We are going to talk about what's happening in the world right now financially. There's some significant stuff going on. Okay, some really, really big stuff. We've found out a lot of things lately that the powers that be have not been telling us. I've been telling you for how many months on this channel that hyperinflation was here and that they were going to lie to us about it, because that's basically their game plan with everything. Is just lie about it, cover it up, lie about it until we can see if we can fix it. And then if we can't, go, oh, hey, look, it did get here eventually, but it wasn't here before when we told you it wasn't. That's pretty much how they're doing everything. So this may be a longer video than usual, but it's probably the most important one I've ever made. I'm going to attempt to explain probably the most complicated thing. Most people don't understand personal finance that well. And I'm going to try to explain money, and that's a more difficult concept. We think we understand money. If you ask the average person on the street, you said, hey, what is money? They'd be able to tell you, say, oh, well, it's something that has value, right? Something that has value we all understand. So we have a collective understanding of the value of this thing. And so one of the things that's lost, and one of the things that is being caught up now at a rapid pace, is that money is actually technology. So money being technology that essentially hasn't evolved for decades is rapidly evolving right now, and most people have no idea what's going on. And if you follow me, you follow this page, you follow this channel, I'm going to tell you what's going on. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. I'm going to tell you what the solution is. I'm going to tell you some of the things that have happened very recently, and why this stuff all adds up. By the way, the Dow made a new all-time high today, and so did the S&P. How about that? How about that? All of the congressional members should be stoked about their positions, their hyper longs and calls that they have on the stock market. You know, it's true. Okay, so let's drop this. I'm a VA home loan specialist. MLS 155010. Let's get that out of the way. If you need want to buy or refi, give me a call, shoot me a text, shoot me an email, etc. Let's dive into this. I got a bunch of stuff here, just tons of stuff to show you. So let's see how it goes. New all-time highs, the Dow, the S&P, the market's closed now. Gold now back up to 1800, just kind of living right there. Oil mid 83s, Bitcoin back up to 62.6, having a decent day today. That is correct. You're not reading that wrong. 62,653 of your dollars for one of my Bitcoins. Kind of tells you which one's better right there, doesn't it? And this is part of the understanding I'm going to take you through about the history of money, particularly currency. Very few people understand, and very few people are going to be capable of understanding, but those who do will really know that you should take a look at things differently now. Things have to be looked at differently now. They do. It's time. It's probably past time, but if it hasn't happened yet, it needs to happen now. We got to look at everything differently. Money, value, everything's got to be looked at differently. I'm going to explain it. Don't worry. So crypto doing very, very well. Crypto is sort of the solution, if you will. So first of all, money is technology. So let's talk about the evolution of money. So we could look at the history of the United States dollar. I'm going to put this link in the video. The history of money. You know, this is from PBS. They did a pretty good job of like going through like, hey, in the beginning it was just barter, like whatever for whatever. Hey, I'll give you my shirt for that banana. I mean, you know, there wasn't really anything consistent. And then at a certain point in time, it became cattle. Okay, this is 9,000 to 6,000 BC. Cattle, you know, was the currency, and different things throughout the year. So this evolved, right? So it was cattle, and then it was shells. And then we have coins that started being minted 1000 BC. And, you know, this led us all the way up to, let's fast forward to modern days. Now, I just wanted to prove it's a technology. Okay, money, centralized, commonized money is a technology that has not evolved for at least a few hundred years, and you could argue a few thousand years. Has not evolved. Now, it's different in the sense of banking. Hey, I have online banking. I can check my money there. I don't have to have it in a safe. Those types of things, that's just a security thing. That's not really the money system itself. But here's an important thing to note. The United States dollar formally adopted the gold standard in 1900. and it eliminated all links to gold in 1971. So that dollar that you have, the technology of that dollar is very simple. It's this dollar. Actually, I think I have one. I rarely have cash, but I just so happen to have one here, I think. Yes. Sweet. So this dollar is linked to something of value. It is a representative. It's like having a stock, a share of stock that says I own a share of that company. This dollar is supposed to say I own a share of that gold at Fort Knox. Some of that gold is mine because of this dollar. I could show up to Fort Knox with this dollar, walk away with a tiny smidgen of gold. That's the concept. That is the technology of it. And so we're able to print this money as a country and say, all right, now we have something that everyone understands that is valuable. Now, we eliminated the gold standard in 1971. So if you were a smart person in 1971, you would have probably said, oh, man, we're screwed. We're screwed. Rampant inflation will persist until we get to hyperinflation. And at that point in time, the entire financial scaffolding will collapse. So if you were a doomsdayer, if you were just like a smart person, now mind you, that is exactly 50 years ago. 50 years. But if you look at the numbers, and maybe I should have pulled this up. If you look at the numbers of what's happened since 1971, you've seen dramatic inflation. Dramatic inflation. Now, that's really been happening for longer than 1971, but if you look just from there to now, it's been happening, and it's been happening rapidly. There is no more link to gold. It's just monopoly money. They can print as much as they want. So why is that a problem, Derek? Why is it a problem if the government prints more and more and more and more and more and more money? Why does that cause inflation? Well, let's put it to you this way. You remember the game Monopoly, right? People always say it's like monopoly money. They're just throwing money around like it's monopoly money. Well, monopoly money, though, at least that bank had a certain amount of money. When you play Monopoly, there's a certain amount of money in there, and it's a fixed amount. And that is actually not inflationary. What's inflationary is if you went and you bought 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 Monopoly games and you brought the money from 10 games into that one game. Who's in control of all that money? Who gets to give it away? Oh, well, this player went bankrupt, so let's just give them $1,000. But since we're giving them $1,000, we need to give everyone $1,000. This is what inflation is, because what happens is now there's too much money in the room. There's too much money in the pot. And so when you go to buy those hotels, or when you try to make a deal with someone to buy a piece of their real estate, the prices can go way up because everyone's got more money. And we've seen since the bottom in the stock market in 2009, where the Dow hit 6,500, I believe was the low, we are now up 6 times, 600%. 600% increase since then. That's only been, 13 years or so? 12 years? 12 years? We got a six bagger in 12 years in the stock market. It's a little much. What's happened in real estate since the crash? Yeah, you got at least a 2 or 3 or 4 bagger there. So you've got a lot of money in the room, team. Now the Federal Reserve, and this goes on to talk about this Wikipedia article is pretty good. Federal Reserve System, 1913 central bank, blah, blah, blah. The Federal Reserve could fix this, but they're not going to. They could fix this. All that we need to do is raise interest rates by 1%. Raise interest rate by 1%. If that didn't do it, raise it by another 0.5%. If that doesn't do it, another 0.5%. You just keep raising rates until it's fixed. You can do that. That can be done. If you raise interest rates, it will curb inflation. Low interest rates cause inflation. So that is something that could be done to fix it, but it's not happening. So since this time, all these decades, hundreds of years, arguably thousands of years, since we have had a technological growth in money, now enter cryptocurrency. What does cryptocurrency do? Oh, before I get to that, I want you to understand that one of the things that it makes fiat currencies, or these government currencies, a scam is that the only way you can evaluate them is against one another, right? So if you want to know how much the dollar is worth, you would compare it. Oh, well, how does the dollar compare to the pound? How's the dollar doing to the euro? How's the dollar doing to the yuan? You're comparing all these currencies to one another. So if the world economies, if the world governments are all screwing the same thing up, you'll never notice because your dollar is still worth the same as a euro. Oh, the dollar used to be 1.1 per euro. Now it's 1.2 per euro. But you won't realize that both currencies are going full blast towards the edge of a cliff. And what this looks like is with cryptocurrency is a massive catch up in financial technology. Cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin, but crypto in general, it's a rapid catch up in money tech. And it's happening super, super fast. And it's happening, the catalyst is hyperinflation. I got an email from Anthony Paplano. Maybe you saw this over the weekend. This was on Saturday. Jack from Twitter, he tweeted, hyperinflation is going to change everything. It's happening. Now, I've been telling you this for months, that this was happening and that everyone was lying to us about it. Jack from Twitter, why should we listen to Jack from Twitter? Well, if we scroll down here to see what Pomp said about it, and I'll show you some of the things. Jack Dorsey and Square sit on one of the most important, accurate data sets in the world to measure true inflation of various goods and services. They are likely materially more accurate in their measure of inflation than any data set from government organizations, and he's correct. They are in a much better position to determine if this is taking place or not. Square being a payment company, okay, a company that accepts payments for goods and services. It is much easier for them to look at the data and determine whether we're really seeing inflation or not. And Jack didn't say that we're seeing inflation. I want to make that very clear. He said hyperinflation. Caramba. Didn't mean to click on that. We'll see where that takes us. Looks like we're going to Twitter, team. So he said hyperinflation is here. Hyperinflation is going to change everything. And he's right. Now, as Michael Saylor put right here, Bitcoin is a solution. I agree with him. So hyperinflation. So we talk about inflation. What's hyperinflation? Hyperinflation is sort of like in chemistry. You have saturated. Supersaturated means that there's some other thing that's functioning that's causing the inflation or the saturation to happen at a faster pace. Well, there's a number of different things. It's not just money printing. There's other things that are going on. Remember, stock market, six bagger, real estate 3 or 4 bagger. And that's just in the last decade-ish. So we not only have a money printing issue, but we also have asset prices climbing naturally based on demand and essentially where they've come from. And that is the reason, team. That is the reason why when we look at this, you see Bitcoin is at 62,575 US dollars. Now with Bitcoin and Ethereum, frankly, and other cryptos, for that matter, you have a measure that isn't another fiat currency for which you can compare the dollar to. And you can see how rapidly the value of the dollar is deteriorating by just simply looking at the price of Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is money tech, and essentially what it does is it solves like big worldwide problems efficiently and inexpensively, particularly Bitcoin. And there's every crypto project out there has a use case or has a problem that it is being designed to solve. Bitcoin is more of a design for a currency, a store of value, use case where it can be something that's deflationary by nature. There's only a fixed amount of them, and the amount that is produced goes down each 4 years by half until you get to that fixed amount. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's an end of the road where there won't be any more Bitcoin. Now it'll take us 100 years to get to that point, but we're already at 18.5 million and there's only 21 million. So there's not a whole lot of Bitcoin left to mine. But as the price goes up, you don't need to mine as much to make money. That's why there's so many countries like El Salvador are now mining Bitcoin using geothermal energy from the volcanic activity that they have down there. You're starting to see, this morning, and just in the past week, we had a senator on the United States Senate floor say, "Thank God for Bitcoin," quote unquote, Senator Loomis. And then Rand Paul, just as recently, I believe as this weekend, perhaps it was even today, this morning, said that he sees Bitcoin becoming the world's reserve currency. Why? Because it's uncorruptible. That's why. It's uncorruptible. There's no CEO. The rules are already set. There's a fixed limit to it. You can trust it. You can trust it to be what it says it is. Now, you may think, well, I can trust this dollar too, Derek. I can trust this dollar. You can trust this dollar, but here's what you can't trust. This is $1. It'll go into the vending machine. But notice how much less it gets you. Just watch how much less and less and less and less it keeps getting you. Cost of your gas, your housing, your groceries, the vending machines, in fact. Is there anything under $1 anymore? You need a couple of these now just to get a small thing out of a vending machine. That's the part that I really want to help people understand with this, because I'm not going to preach from a pulpit about this every day, but I feel like I needed to take this one time to really try to help people understand what this is and what's going on and how it isn't going to stop. Now, I tell people, don't invest in something if you don't understand it. I personally couldn't invest in any cryptocurrencies because I did not understand them until earlier this year. Once it clicked, I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. This is what's going to happen. This is the future. And it's here. It is here. So if you don't understand, I'm not saying go buy Bitcoin because if you don't understand, I'm saying research and keep watching videos and reading about it until you do understand, until you have conviction. Do not invest in anything that you don't have conviction in, because when tough times come, you'll bail, you'll make a bad decision. Make sure you understand it first. And so what's happening with fiat is we believe, those of us who have dollars, we believe that it's safe. We put it in the bank and we go to bed and it says, hey, I have $10 in my savings account. I got a $10 bill too. I have $10 in my savings account. When I wake up, I have $10 in my savings account. So we feel like our money is safe. It hasn't changed. But the reality is you woke up with $9.97 in your bank account. It just doesn't work that way. We don't keep the cost of goods fixed and change the value of your money. The opposite happens. The cost of goods changes and the amount of your money stays the same. So it's very easy for them to hide from you what is actually happening to your currency, to your dollars, to your savings. It's very easy to hide because of the currency pairings as a normal comparison, the benchmark for comparison. I suggest you compare the dollar to Bitcoin if you want to see what's really happening with the dollar. That's the only true measure. I mean, look at this screen we're looking at right here. Even Litecoin is worth 194 US dollars. Litecoin. I don't know much about Litecoin, but even Litecoin, even XRP, which is in a lawsuit with the government, with the federal government, is worth more than $1. You can see these things. You just have to open your minds up to a little bit. So what problems is crypto solving? This stuff is so complicated. This is what I'm telling you. Most people right now don't have a strong sense of personal finance. Almost no one understands currencies and currency pairings and how all this stuff works. I know it's a very difficult subject. The crypto stuff that's going on right now, best way for me to describe it is the nerds are taking over. And they're doing it in the most nerd way possible. Okay. The smartest people in the world are going to take it over. And they're doing it with cryptocurrency. That's how it's going to happen. And this stuff is so complex. It's just nuts. I don't even know how to explain it to you, but like, let's say you have a project that gets you from here to here, but you need to get to here. So you have another project that can get you from there to there. And eventually you're going to be participating in it, whether you like it or not. Because you're going to go to places and you're going to buy things. You're going to participate in buying goods online or doing whatever. And you're going to be using cryptocurrency is going to be used. The platforms that transfer the value, these cryptocurrencies, they're going to be used in the underlying process of whatever transaction or mechanism you're using. So you'll be participating in it whether you know it or not. And this stuff is really, really complex. It's so complex. I'm into this stuff. I'm really into it. And it's very difficult for me to follow along. Very difficult for me. 50% of it I don't understand at all. Not at all. Couldn't tell you one bit what's going on. The one thing I understand is Bitcoin. That's the one thing I do understand. It makes sense to me, and it is here to stay. We just saw last week, we have 2 Bitcoin ETFs now trading. So the sales organ of Wall Street can now get to work. The sales organ of Wall Street, which is the brokerage firms, Merrill Lynch, TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, Charles Schwab. These guys now have a product that they can make money on and get Bitcoin to their clients. And I promise you that is happening and is currently in the process of happening on a major, major scale. Not only is Bitcoin inevitable, but it's happening and it's here. And when you look at the possibilities of Bitcoin becoming the world's reserve currency, as Rand Paul said this morning or here recently, that is something that makes Bitcoin worth millions of dollars a coin, maybe tens of millions of dollars a coin. It's exactly what they wrote about when they created Bitcoin, that this was possible and that this is what it would look like. And they were correct. If it happens, that's probably where we'll be. That could be many years from now. That could be 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now. It's hard to say how long this is going to take, but it is happening right now. And if we really are experiencing hyperinflation, and I trust Jack more than I trust, and I don't align with Jack on pretty much anything, okay? But I would trust him on that. Not just because he agrees with me, but because he actually has more data than I do. He is a better source for whether that's accurate or not than I am. And if he says it, this is the picture I should really have up. If he says it, hyperinflation is going to change everything, and it's happening, I think we have to take note that that's what's going on. So cryptocurrency, for people who, and Bitcoin in particular, people who don't understand it, it is the future of money. There is no question about it. Fiat currencies is an old technology. Imagine the Stone Age. That's where that came from. We are now in a very rapid digital economy, and digital currency makes so much sense, but particularly decentralized currency like Bitcoin, which has no master. There's no one who can make more of it. There's no way to change the rules. The parameters are set. There's a limited amount of it. And that's why people like Michael Saylor here, who's the person who I actually learned what Bitcoin is by listening to him. I didn't understand it until I heard him explain it. He is the founder and the CEO of MicroStrategy. He went to MIT for aerospace, bio stuff. One of the smartest guys. Like I said, the nerds, okay, the smartest people in the world are going to take it over via cryptocurrency. That's what's happening. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's probably a great thing. I'd rather have the smartest people be in charge than the most corrupt government people be in charge. Guys like Michael Saylor, he's got billions and billions of dollars of Bitcoin. He's buying as much as he can. As much money as his company, his publicly traded company makes, he buys Bitcoin with it. Elon Musk, one of the smartest people out there, Bitcoin. He also has Ethereum. He also has Dogecoin, which I don't know why. But their cryptocurrency is here to stay. It is the future. It is what we can expect to see more of, and you're going to continue to see it. Just today, there was a fund in Japan, a teacher's fund, that manages $47 billion, said they're starting to buy Bitcoin. Multiple financial advisors, including George Soros' family of investments, they also said in the last week they're buying Bitcoin. There's only so much of it, team. There's only so much of it. It is limited. So what's going to happen when you get 4 or 5 or 10 years down the road? There just won't be that much. There'll be guys like me who bought it and hold on to it. I'm not going to sell forever. I hope I never sell it. I hope my kids never sell it. I hope their kids never sell it. That's the way I'm looking at it. But we just have to understand the history here of what's going on and the reality behind this stuff. It's not linked to anything anymore. It hasn't been for 50 years. It's just paper. And they keep printing more of it. And just because it looks very official and has all sorts of counterfeit measures on it doesn't mean it's actually worth anything. The big lie is that if you went to bed with this $10 bill in your pocket and you woke up and you still had this $10 bill in your pocket, you would still think that you had $10. You would think that nothing has changed, but you would be wrong. You would be wrong because the world is still changing whether you have this $10 in your pocket or not. The price of goods is going up. It's going up across the board. And this isn't that far-fetched, is it? I mean, have you tried to buy a car lately? Have you tried to buy a big-ticket item? Have you tried to buy a home? Have you looked at what it costs to go to the grocery store? Have you seen how small? We bought some Little Debbie stuff just for a throwback because my wife and I will do that occasionally. We'll splurge on sweets or something. I was like, why don't we get some old school Little Debbie stuff? And we did, and the packaging was so small. I hadn't had the little oatmeal pies. I hadn't had one of those in forever, but I remember them being like pretty big. Now, maybe it's because I'm older and bigger. I don't know, but they were tiny. That's just one example. There's many things like that. The price goes up. The amount that you get is less. I've seen this happen at the grocery store too when you go to buy like a thing of cereal and you look and you see, oh, okay, well, why is this one stacked right in front of this one? They're both Cheerios. You have the new Cheerios box, which is going in that same price point, and the old Cheerios box, which is like 0.6 ounces more. They just make it smaller and then charge the same, or they'll make it smaller and raise the price a little bit. And that's what's happening. So your dollar isn't getting you as much. But if you just look at what's in your pocket, you would still believe, I still have my $10. Nothing's changed. It has, though. It has. And it's continuing to do so. A couple other things I want to mention today. Currency is technology. There has not been a technology advancement in currency for hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, until cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin. But until then, there had been no evolution, no technological advancements. In fact, if anything, it has gotten worse. It has de-evolved. When this elimination to the gold standard happened in 1971, the technology of currency at that time devolved, got worse. And now here we are 50 years later, and we have full-on digital currency that is superior in every single way to every single thing that exists right now. And if you think it's too late, it is not. It has barely begun. Wall Street just started their sales operations for Bitcoin last week. Senators in the last week have been talking about Bitcoin on the Senate floor, been talking about making Bitcoin the reserve currency, that not making Bitcoin, but that Bitcoin could become the reserve currency of the world. That's all just in the last week. It's still very, very early. All right. A couple more things I'm going to show you here. I'm going to get through the whole gamut. Mastercard. This is today. Mastercard says any bank or merchant on its vast network can soon offer crypto services. Mastercard is preparing to announce that any of the thousands of banks and millions of merchants on its payments network can soon integrate crypto into their products. That includes Bitcoin wallets, credit and debit cards that earn rewards in crypto and enable digital assets to be spent, and loyalty programs where airline or hotel points can be converted into Bitcoin. This hasn't happened yet. Soon offer. Soon. It's coming. The train is coming. And this isn't one of those situations where you can get off the tracks. Getting off the tracks means you're poor forever. You need to understand what it is. Realize that your dollars aren't what they thought they were. And if you've invested your money in real estate, you've done the smarter thing. That's easily the next best thing, in my opinion, to Bitcoin. And I'm massively long Bitcoin, but real estate too. For the same reasons, real estate is a hard asset. Someone told me, my buddy said, you can't live in a Bitcoin. He's right. You can't live in a Bitcoin, but you can buy a hell of a lot of places to live with Bitcoin, and you will be able to. Tesla murdered it. Tesla shares rise after Hertz says it will buy 100,000 electric vehicles. Oh. I tell you, the one stock I really missed the boat on was Tesla. I actually had the order in when it was at $126, and I chickened out. That was many months ago. And it's now over 1,000. Tesla rose today to over $1,000, 1,024, up 12% on the day. I know a lot of people own it, so congrats to you guys. 52-week high, over $1,000 a share. Elon Musk now worth $1 quadrillion. Congrats to all of y'all. Technology. Again, what is Tesla? Tesla is a significant increase in efficiency in automobile technology, which also had not evolved much for decades. And then in comes Tesla, and what do? They completely changed the game. Tesla's not even close. If you haven't driven a Tesla, I highly suggest you do so. I have one. We also have a van, a Chrysler van. Tesla doesn't have a van, or we'd have a Tesla van. But it's so much more efficient, dramatically more efficient. The engineering is off the charts. The safety is off the charts. The safest vehicle that's ever been tested. It is a massive step up. It is a rapid catch up in car tech. And look what's happening. Hertz wants to buy 100,000 cars. I wish I could be the person who would have delivered that message to Elon. Whoever got to relay that message, that's pretty sick. So again, it's technology. Technology is everything, financial technology included. this I thought was funny. So this is CNBC Select, which means basically this is a paid for article. Financial advisor, always consider flexibility when deciding between buying a home and renting an apartment. Consider flexibility. Well, what's more flexible? Renting, obviously, idiots. But why would you say that? Well, the only reason they allow stuff like this to be published is because they don't want you to buy real estate. They want to own all of it. And, some financial advisors are opposed to real estate because you have to put money into that and they'd rather you invest it with them. But I'm not going to suggest that that's what it is. I just think it's interesting. Consider flexibility. Well, flexibility is somewhat important, but I want flexibility in retirement. I mean, flexibility today is great, but you know what? I can deal with a lot today. I'm young, peak earning season. Anyway, that one's just for the funny bin. And then, did I lose it? Here it is. Last but not least, all right, here's what's going on with mortgage rates today. Up 20 basis points. So we finally have a nice green candle here. Look at this. We got 2 in a row. All right. Don't call anyone yet. Everyone relax. Everyone relax. Here's what we've got to get through. We've got this downtrend going right now, and we're going to intersect with this somewhere. If we don't today, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, but at some point we're going to intersect and interact with this downtrend that we're in right now. And if we can get through that, if we can bust up above that, then that's a game changer. Okay, it's a game changer because what could happen here is we could see a formation. I'm going to draw a bunch of stuff. We could see a formation if everything works out just perfectly, where we have like a reverse head and shoulders. Okay, and if we get that right here and shoot higher, then that'd be tremendous. Mind you, everything I've been telling you so far today about inflation, about hyperinflation, all of this is terrible, terrible, terrible for bonds. I've told you my opinion multiple times that I believe that the bond market is going to go away. The bond market is a $120 trillion market, or some crazy, like I don't know if it's 120, but it's tens of trillions of dollars. The bond market is tens of trillions of dollars. And I think that that money is going to go away pretty much. I don't think people are going to want to invest in bonds anymore, especially if we're in hyperinflation, because not a single bond out there would actually cover the cost of inflation. Even if you buy a junk bond that pays 6%, inflation is much higher than that. Much higher than that. I say at least 25, maybe 30% for inflation. At least. Michael Saylor says it's 24% at least. I trust his math. So if that's the cost of capital, if that's what we're really looking at, then all of these bonds are worthless, all of them. Why take any risk at all? May as well just leave it in the bank. I mean, what's the difference between losing 24% and losing 22%? You know what I mean? So why would you even buy a bond? And that's why you're going to start to see, and that's why we've already started to see institutions buying real estate on a wide scale. That's why we're also seeing institutions now and in the near future, tremendously more, are going to be buying Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. There's going to be more cryptocurrency funds. Right now, there's just 2 Bitcoin ETFs. And then there's also the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which also, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, if you want to bargain on Bitcoin, let's do GBTC NAV chart. So Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC, is the chart. Premium NAV, is that what I looked at? Well, I didn't realize it was a Yahoo chart. Okay. So Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, you can buy this in your IRA or whatever, GBTC. I own a ton of it. And what this does, this right here, this link, I wanted to pull this link up so I could get it into to the links I'm going to post for today. This shows you the discount to which Grayscale Bitcoin Trust trades with respect to the actual spot price of Bitcoin. So as of today, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which by the way, the Bitcoin Trust is basically, it's just a trust that owns Bitcoin, direct actual Bitcoin. The futures, the ETFs that are out there right now, which one is BITO, that's the iShares, and then the other one is BTF. They're both linked to the futures. So they don't actually own any Bitcoin. They own the futures contracts for future price of Bitcoin. This right here, GBTC owns actual coins. So if GBTC owns actual coins, then when you buy shares of the trust, GBTC, you are buying actual coins. Oh, this is going to be interesting. So my mouse just died. This is going to be interesting. And so I'm going to have no way to go to navigate around here. I'm going to have no way to close this out either. Let me see. Is there a way, like a shortcut? I don't even know. So GBTC, well, the thing that this graph shows you, so I'll finish the content and then I'll figure this out. It shows you the discount. Why does this trade at such a discount? Well, because people believe that, there's going to be better options later, that they believe that this isn't really an ETF. This isn't really a security. It's a trust and whatever. But you're actually, when you buy shares of this trust, you are actually owning real coins and not futures contracts. You don't own the coins because you don't have the keys, but you're buying a portion of the trust, which does own the coins. So right now, GBTC, it's either discount or premium to NAV, it's a -15. So it's a discount. So right now, the amount, when you buy GBTC, you're actually buying direct Bitcoins at a 15% discount. So if a Bitcoin today is $60,000, let's use easy math, it's $60,000. And you are going to buy one Bitcoin. Today, you could go in and you could spend, let's see, what's 15% of that? 9,000. So you could spend $51,000 buying GBTC today, $51,000. And you would have the equivalent of one Bitcoin. Does that make sense? So instead of buying for $60,000, you could buy for $51,000 and get the same thing. But you can see over time, it tends to trade at a discount. And that's one thing that's a bizarre deal for me. I think it's going to make this GBTC distrust a target for acquisition. Because if you were a huge fund, like a pension fund or a hedge fund, and you wanted to accumulate a bunch of BTC, Bitcoins, actual Bitcoins, which Grayscale owns hundreds of thousands of, the way that if you go in and try to buy those, you're going to run the price up because you're going to buy hundreds of thousands of coins. You're going to run the price up like crazy just on yourself, to yourself by buying that many. Or it's going to take you a very long time to accumulate them. If you wanted to get hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins like that, you could buy the whole GBTC and it's trading at a discount. So you could pay up a little bit for it and you can buy it that way. And I don't know exactly how that would go or exactly how that would work, but that's something I personally would look at if I was one of these CEOs like Apple or something sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars in cash, just watching the cash erode in value. I would definitely buy real estate or buy some Bitcoin or maybe buy the whole entire Grayscale Bitcoin trust, and have all those coins. So I do think if you want to buy Bitcoin at a discount, if you feel like you're too late, you want to get it, this is what I think is the best deal in the Bitcoin game right now, aside from owning the coins directly. All right, I'm going to go plug in my mouse and I'm going to come back with a couple more parting words. Hold on. So that's interesting. Never had a mouse die on me before, but it is what it is. And I don't know any of the shortcuts to these keys. So at this point in time, I'm kind of stuck for a few seconds. I'm going to let that mouse charge for a couple minutes and then I'm going to come back and close this out. That's what I get for trying to save the environment from batteries. I will recap just in case you're catching this right now. I don't even know who's watching. I can't see anything. Money is technology. Organized money is a technology. It's an advancement in technology. Now, the reason why it may not seem like a technology to us is because it's been the same way for our whole lives. We've never seen it evolve. Our parents have never seen it evolve. Our grandparents never saw it evolve. Our great-great-great-grandparents never saw it evolve because it's been hundreds, if not thousands of years since there has been an evolution in money. And we are now... It is catching up to that evolutionary curve very, very quickly right now. That's what's happening. So what we have to do is, first of all, we need to pay attention to that. And we hear things like we heard from Jack Dorsey earlier today. When we look at just the reality that we see in our daily lives, stuff is costing more money. Everyone can agree to that, right? Like I'm not living in some bubble. Everything is costing more money. Everything. And when we see something like that, we can experience it. This isn't a conspiracy. This is what's happening. This is what we're living through. I tried to buy a car. If they would have had a car, I would have a new Tahoe now. My van would be gone. I've since changed my mind. It was so hard to get one. I couldn't even call and just say, hey, I want to, like buy a Tahoe. And they're like, yeah, we don't have any. What? Now we're also seeing, we've been talking about the price of oil, which is now almost doubled. It was at $45 at the turn of the year, right? Or no, toward the end of last year. Now it's at 85 or 83.50. And we're going to continue to see oil go up. We're going to continue to see gas prices go up. You're going to see cost of goods continue to go up. Cost of real estate is going to continue to go up. I hate to say this because, listen, it sounds like I'm just some biased loan officer. Like, well, you're always telling people to buy real estate. I am. There's a good doggone reason for it. It's not like I'm sitting here saying, hey, like Jack, for example, Jack Dorsey, who said hyperinflation's here. That's going to change everything. Is there any benefit to him saying that? You always got to look at that. When someone says something, is there a potential benefit to what they're trying to tell you? Is there a reason they want you to believe what it is they're telling you that benefits them? There's absolutely no benefit to Jack Dorsey saying that hyperinflation's here. None. But he is the man who would have the data to know it. So we can trust that information's pretty good. Now, if you look and say, well, old Derek's telling me to buy real estate all the time. First question is, have I ever been wrong? The answer is no. But if you've only been following me for a few years, hey, real estate's just gone up the last few years. So of course you're right. Okay. Go look up how many real estate crash videos there are on YouTube. Those guys haven't been right. Not everyone's right. People who are bullish on real estate have been right. Now, if I told you, hey, listen, you should buy real estate, but you might get screwed. The only way you won't get screwed, the only way it'll really work for you is if you buy it through me. Now, that's obviously BS, right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying buy real estate. Get financed with me. Get financed with someone else. Buy real estate while you still can. The rush to own Bitcoin is very similar to the rush to own real estate. Bitcoin and real estate are very, very similar, I'm telling you. Limited supply, very high demand, different reasons, totally different functionalities, very, very similar items to invest in, honestly. And when you look at all the possibilities with Bitcoin, including the potential for future staking or earning money, earning APY on your crypto, because it can be loaned out to other people and things like that. So you put your crypto in a bank. Okay, let's call it a bank, an exchange. You give this bank your BTC, they loan it out to other people. They pay you an interest rate. Does that sound familiar? Remember how the old banking system used to work? Remember when they used to pay interest out? I remember that. I'm old enough to remember that. That whole thing can happen in the crypto world, but what's great about it is you have no manipulation. The reason why the dollar's been devalued is because it's been printed and because interest rates have artificially been kept low. That doesn't happen in Bitcoin world. It can happen with the other cryptocurrencies. It can happen with Ethereum. It can happen with Litecoin. It can happen with others because they do have CEOs. They can change the rules. It can't happen with Bitcoin. It can't. It's not possible. So we have this evolution, this revolution in money taking place, and almost no one knows what's going on. And I consider myself to be a pretty smart guy. It took a long time for me to figure out and understand it. A long time. And now that I do, I feel very good about it. It's the biggest no-brainer I've ever seen. The best investment that I've ever made, the best trade I've ever made, Bitcoin. And it's the one I have the most conviction in. Some people believe that the government can shut it down, and I even believed that myself at one point. But now I realize what it is and how it functions. It doesn't need the government at all. It doesn't need the government one bit. Now, the government could say, well, hey, we consider this to be, black market goods or whatever, so we're going to do it this way. We're going to say we're going to tax you when you bring it into the bank or when you convert it to dollars. We just won't convert it to dollars then. It'll take longer for the evolution to happen, but you'll still get left out of the pie. If the government was smart, they would buy Bitcoin hand over fist. Instead of buying bonds and doing all this other stupid shit they're doing, they would buy Bitcoin hand over fist and try to get as much of it as possible. Try to make sure that our government has the most Bitcoin of any government in the world. That would be the smartest thing to do. And they're not. And there's going to be other countries that are going to front run them, like El Salvador right now, one of the poorest countries in South America, is going to become the richest because of Bitcoin. I guarantee you that. It's already happening. They've been mining Bitcoin through the whole recent dip and everything. They've been mining it, and they're going to make tons of it, and they're going to make tons of money for their people and for their country. So the problem is governments are irresponsible financially. If you think that they're going to be ahead of the curve, they're going to be so far behind. Governments aren't going to start buying Bitcoin until it's $1 million. That's when the governments are going to start buying. And that's how you're going to get from 1 million to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 million a coin, is because governments will finally get in. That's how far behind they'll be. But they'll look at the data and go, good Lord, we have to do it. There's a certain point in time where anyone who's reasonable will just simply look at the data and they will say, we have to do it. We have no choice. How could we not? For the past 10 years, Bitcoin has doubled every 6 months on average. 200% a year. And this year, it's up 100%, 120%, I believe, so far this year. 120%. So at some point, people who are just interested in data, they're just interested in truth, they're interested in reality, will look at it and go, I have no choice. I have to. And when I say people, I don't mean individuals. I mean massive institutions. I mean massive investment funds. I mean governments, treasurers will look at it and go, how can we not? And the government thing is going to be headed off by people seeing what happens in El Salvador. People are going to see El Salvador thrive and become a rich, prosperous area. I'm actually looking at real estate down there right now because you can buy a beachfront house in El Salvador for $100,000 right now. And I promise you, in 10 years from now, you will not be able to do that. You will not be able to do it. It'll be $1 million. There's going to be tons of people there and tons of money there. So it's the first country that really succeeds with it will cause the other countries to go, we can't let El Salvador get all this money. We got to get some of that money. What do we need to do? We need to set up mining. We need to hodl Bitcoin, just like they did. That's what's going to happen. So I'm going to leave my soapbox. I'm going to go get my mouse and close it out. Thanks, guys. Definitely a bizarre twist. All right, we are back. The mouse is back. Just in time for me to say goodbye. Share this video. Let's help make your friends smarter than everyone else. I hope it helps. I really do. There's a massive monetary revolution going on, and I don't want you to miss out. I stand absolutely nothing to gain if you get into this or not. I'm not a market maker. I don't have that kind of audience. But you stand to gain a lot. So good luck, team.